Well, greetings and welcome today. I am Felicia Harlow, your Calm Heart educator, guide, and Percalia Method Heart Energy practitioner. And today's message centers around how we love ourselves through loss. How we love ourselves through loss. So welcome. If you have those that are moving through loss right now and really need some guidance, some support, whatever it may be, bring them on over to Energetic Life Development page right now. Perhaps they need to hear this message that is coming through today. So let's dive in. It was April 2007 when I was speaking at Smith College out on the East Coast, and I went into miscarriage of my unborn child. And I panicked initially, but then something, which I believe that something is my angel, spirit guide, our Almighty God, stepped in and began to support me through that process. And so I was way out of town on the East Coast. I live in the Midwest, and I had a talk to get through and started miscarrying my baby. So you can imagine the distraught that I was in emotionally. However, somehow I was able to still actually speak, speak and deliver a message of self-care to college students at that time. And then completed the speech, got back on the airplane, flew back home, and then drove myself home from the airport, all while I was moving through a miscarriage. And so today's message is all about how do we love ourselves through loss of loved ones? How do we love ourselves through loss of loved ones? Greetings, Milani. Greetings, Amber. Thank you for joining. Welcome. And so, I proceeded to drive myself home from the airport, and I was in terror, in despair, distraught, knowing that something was wrong, but just didn't quite fully process it mentally. I arrived home and said, well, maybe if I sleep, maybe things will settle down. Well, they didn't settle down. And I continued to basically move through my miscarriage process. It got to the point where I just about passed out. In fact, I fell into my husband's arms in this process. And of course, ended up at the hospital because I blacked out. Now, the reason I'm bringing this today because we are all going through some loss. We're going through grief, and we have to find ways to move through our loss, through our grief, through this process so that we can heal. And I tell you, to this day, I'm still in remembrance and healing around it because every April 15th, I go back to that day, that horrific day that I experienced in 2007. And as a way to just honor my unborn child, I have these earrings that I wear and this necklace that has an angel on it representing my unborn child. I still have sorrow that I have never had an opportunity to physically meet my unborn child, and yet I've still been able to get to a place of loving myself through this loss. So April 15th is a day of both sorrow but also celebration. And why is it a celebration? Because I've done the work, the emotional, the spiritual work, the heart wrenching work in order to be able to move through such a loss. I know I'm not alone. There's a whole lot of other women out there that have experienced miscarriage or loss in some other way, shape, or form. And of course, this is not my first loss. I've been through lots of loss. And this was one that brought me to my knees and transitioned me into a different way of being. It came at the time of what people would call a midlife crisis. So that was my midlife crisis. When I look back on that experience, that was my midlife crisis. And the midlife crisis happens because it's there to take us on a journey so that we can really start to look at the issues in our lives that we most need to confront and to learn from and to grow deeper into for the next phase of our lives. At the time, I did not realize, I did not understand why this was happening. And I asked all the questions, why me? Why now? Why us? I had three children. At that time, ages were 10, 8, and 4. And so they experienced this loss with me as well. My husband experienced this loss with me. So we all have that etch in our hearts that has turned into a leak, in my case, that I have had to nurture, love, and offer up gentle compassion to myself so that I move through all of the blames and shames and guilt that I experienced for having lost my unborn child. And so today, as we move through loss on an astronomical scale through our world, I pray that this message touches somebody somewhere that needs to hear it so that you can find a way to move through your loss just as I did. So I want to talk a little bit about the symbolic meaning of loss because that was a way in which it helped me to cope. And sometimes we lose because it's time for us to experience something different. Maybe our lives are just telling us it's a difference. It's time for a change. It's time, and I know it's hard to even accept or believe that in the moment, but it takes patience. It takes time and it takes compassion with yourself to move through your loss. And that's what I had to do. This was 13 years ago, and I'm still moving through this loss on this day, April 15th. So it can be a place of rebirth. It can mean renewal. It can really mean that there's some type of opening that is occurring in life. It could be a clearing, a cleansing. Maybe it's a shifting or a resetting. It might even be an opportunity for something else. As I said, something different. So as you move through your losses of your loved ones, feel the pain and know that the pain is going to deliver you through it if you just hold on. Hold on to something that can help you understand, feel that this pain is so great. It's got to have some other purpose in the midst of it all, somewhere down the line. So for me, it was a symbolic message of me beginning to accept myself deeper and really dive deeper into truth, the truth of who I am. So it was like a spiritual awakening for me. I now look at my life as it was prior to that time and after that time. And while I was going through that time, it was horrible. And I just remember my youngest daughter, just she was consoling me. And I could not get out of bed. For the life of me, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And she would lie there next to me and she would just put her hand on my cheek, just put her hand on my cheek as if she was comforting me. So you really don't know how God is going to bless you while you're in the midst of your loss. In my case, he used my younger daughter to comfort me during a time where I just couldn't find my way. So perhaps your loss is bringing you a message. Maybe it's opening your heart wider. Maybe it has to do with you accepting yourself more. Maybe it has to do with really taking a look at, am I being more patient and compassionate with myself? Just take those possibilities into your heart and work with them. It might be something totally different, but I'm here today to bring this message because I know so many are in a painful place right now. And whatever my tips are today to touch your heart, to touch your mind, to give you comfort, even perhaps the sound of my voice will give you comfort on this day and beyond. So consider grief, ladies and gentlemen, as a life helping us to maybe question the meaning of life. Maybe we didn't question the meaning of life prior to that time. And it just wants to make us look at it and consider our blessings a little bit deeper. Maybe we're looking at a rebirthing process. Maybe you want to look at grief as a rebirthing of your life. Consider that as a possibility. Perhaps your loss is taking you into a deeper love for yourself, as your truth, so that you can share that love with somebody else in a broader, deeper, wider way. Loss also makes us go back to some questions. The questions of who am I? What on earth am I doing here? And where am I going? And what is my relationship to God? So those questions maybe you can bring into your contemplation, your consideration, your meditation as you deal with loss. I know I'm talking to somebody. Somebody out there is dealing with some deep, deep loss right now that just needs to hear this message today. So share it with those that you know really need to hear it. And I leave you, with this consideration. And that is that sometimes loss helps us love deeper, broader, more forward, more um, wider, and it helps us to open our eyes, open our hearts, open our minds, open ourselves up to different possibilities. So that's my message for today as I continue to grieve the loss of my unborn child. I also celebrate because this child that I had not any opportunity to meet physically in person gave me the gift of my deeper truth. And what I realized is that I supported this child to not have to deal with limitation and suffering on a physical level. And that brings comfort to my heart. It gives me some meaning, some purpose behind why I had to go through such a devastation for me. And I also realized in this time that it was a way for me to be rebirthed into a different phase of my life. Whether I liked it or not, it was happening, and I had to figure out and cope my way through, love my way through. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm Felicia Harlow, your calm heart guide and educator and heart energy practitioner. I invite you to take this into your lives today as you experience loss, perhaps directly or indirectly. Share the message with someone that it needs to touch that may bring them closer to another step towards healing. So as I sign off today, I will continue to inspire heart-centered living. I wish you a calm heart day and a calm heart rest of your week. Peace and blessings.